My name is Mike Dierberg. I'm the chairman of First Bank, and I'm really excited about the next 2 days. We have some great speakers, really top-notch. Josh Barron, Dennis Jaffe, really some of the best thinkers and writers on family business topics. So we are so fortunate to have them here. And then I think you have the benefit of talking to each other and learning from each other, and I plan on doing that as well. So really some great times ahead. So first I want to do some introductions of some folks that are near and dear to me, really important. The first one I'd like to introduce is Michael Williamson. So we are undergoing a succession ourselves from a non-family CEO, Shelley Seifert. Some of you may have met before. So she's going to be retiring at the end of this year. Michael Williamson will be our new CEO. And where is Michael? If you could stand up. Michael Williamson. Also, Joe Ambrose and Ed Hart, if you guys could stand. So these are two people that I think probably everybody here already knows. They're just that kind of people, and great people to help on the family business side as directors of the Center for Family-Owned Businesses. Next up, really dear to my heart, family. So if you could stand, Ellen and Mike. So we have my sister, Ellen Milne, Mike Milne, Steve Shepman, you can stand. And then my wife, Jamin, is here somewhere. There she is. So I mentioned how I'm learning, and I think for us family, we wanted to be here too, just to be a part of this, so we could learn as well while we're doing this. So I thought what I'd do to start off this meeting is to talk a little bit about us, a little bit about longevity in a family business, and really do that through pictures, sort of do a show and tell. So what I'm going to start with is, so this is an image, some images from Oberammergau. And the story here is that in 2017, my wife and my two kids, we were traveling around Europe looking for what's the next place we're going to visit. We hadn't really worked out the entire plan. And I remembered that our dad had talked about Oberammergau. He really thought it was a cool place. And that he had gotten some sculptures, wood carvings from this town, Oberammergau. And our family not only is in the banking business and the wine business here in California, we're also in some businesses in Herman, Missouri, which is this German settlement. So my dad, a while ago, started getting into buying things like these wood carvings. So we're in this area, and I thought it would be really neat to check out this town and see if I could find this wood carver. So we're on our mobile phone, talking to my dad. What's the guy's name? Who did these wood carvings? Where is this person? He remembered the name, but couldn't find the place. Eventually, we found it. So the picture you see in the middle, that's my two boys, and this is 2017. So they've grown since then, and my younger one lost the bleach blonde hair. But Joseph Abel, he's the guy in the center. He is the 13th generation wood carver. And I like the one on the left. I thought, maybe I should buy that one. It's so cool. I think that's Moses. I'm not totally sure. But it was just such amazing work. And he does a lot of wood carvings for churches, for religious purposes, but just some really, really neat stuff. And I was thinking, well, what's the appeal of long-standing family businesses, multi-generational family businesses, and legacy? And maybe to some extent, it's for the generation thinking about the next generation. It's maybe that generation wants to leave their mark, to pass something on. So that might be part of it. But I think also it's for that generation to be thinking back, the generations that came before them, not just the ones who are in a family business or were in the family business, but even the ones who got them to where they are. So that the roots and the feeling of connection to something before you, I think, is really powerful. And frankly, it's one of the things I love about Europe, is you really get that feeling that you're connected to something bigger and deeper by being in somewhere that has this deep history. Also, the lessons passed on. So here you have this, it's an incredible skill of wood carving that doesn't come to you from a YouTube video. This is something that you really have to, someone has to be teaching you how to do this. And just like in a family business, you have your parents, grandparents, or whoever it is, that can help you, give you some important lessons. And the other thing, too, is just the drawing on the strength of those who came before us. So in this town of Oberammergau, they do a passion play every 10 years. They started this in the plague of 1630 something or other, and the idea was to ward off the plague. I think they've been successful. I don't think the plague has returned to this town, which is great. But when you think about all that this town, this place has been through, like all that you guys have been through, your family has been through, and that's really strength I think you can draw on, and I think is really an important part of being a part of a family business. So the next one I want to show, this is a ryokan, which is kind of like a hotel in Japan. And so I think it was like 2004, 2006, my wife and I and my parents, we were in Japan. My dad, he's really into family businesses with a long history. And so we were looking around for the oldest ryokan we could find. We couldn't get into the one that we wanted to get into in Tokyo. That one had only been around for 400 years or something like that. We ended up in one in Kyoto, which was really nice, but again, that one only had been around for a couple hundred years. So I was looking around for trying to see that one we went to in Kyoto. Instead, I found this one. So this one may be the oldest continuously operating hotel run by the same family, founded in 718. Believe it or not, this is not the oldest. There was one, I think it's from 705. So just an incredible history. They're now in their 46th generation. So really incredible. And I was thinking about this from a family business standpoint. What does this mean? Like how many descendants would you have at the 46th generation? So, I thought, well, maybe I'll just take 2 to the 46th power and see what that does. Any guesses of what 2 to the 46th power is? It's 70 trillion. So clearly I needed to do something different in terms of figuring out how many descendants you would have, because that exceeds the population of the world. But needless to say, I think doing it probably with a demographer, you'd find that there's probably at least in the millions of descendants. And what this says is that part of what has allowed this business to continue on is that they passed to one person in the family. And as you all know, that was basically the rule, the way they operated back then, and that did allow it to continue on for all this time. But if passing it on for 10, 20, 30, 40 generations was the sole goal, maybe that you'd have to do something like that. But it's not the sole goal for probably, I assume, for all of you. And so as we think about the discussion today, tomorrow, think about what are the purposes that your family business serves. Because at least for me, it seems like a multi-generational family business, it's not an end in and of itself. It's actually a means to something else. And what is it a means to? Well, maybe it's providing opportunity to family members, the financial rewards, serving the community and giving back to the community. Maybe it's bringing the family together. But whatever it is, it's really important to think about what are the purposes for you continuing on as a family business and making a multi-family business, because just getting to 40 generations isn't necessarily the goal. So the next one, this one's more personal to us or to our family. So this is our origin. So this was 1906, or somewhere between 1906 and 1910 was when the business got started. 1906, business got started. 1910, the family acquired it. Back then, it was called Crèvecoeur Farmers Bank. Crèvecoeur was the town a little small town where it was started. Since then, we've kind of progressively changed our name as we grew out of the area we designated in our name. But for me, what I notice about this, what kind of sticks out to me is how modest this is. There's no white marble columns in front. It's not some big thing. And it even looks like, and by the way, this is like the best image we have. It's a watercolor, I think. But it looks like it's a storefront facade with, to make it look bigger than it is. So that's our origin, is, very humble beginnings. And I think for all of you, I'm sure that you guys have your own humble beginnings, right? You guys didn't start off, if you're in a big business now, you didn't start big. You started smaller. And as First Bank has grown, as the family has grown, we're now in California, we're up and down the coast, we have a new building we're building in St. Louis that's really exciting. So the challenge for us is how do we maintain that humility, the values we had in that time period? How do we maintain that going forward? And that's a challenge. But I think thinking about things like how we got started is part of it. You know, the stories that are passed on from grandparents and parents. For example, our grandparents, our grandma, my dad's side, would talk about how she made feed sacks for clothing. So if you just remember those sorts of things, then maybe you don't let your imagination about yourself go too wild. So I think this is going to be really exciting next 2 days. And as for all the things you guys are thinking about during that time, I hope you're going to reflect on your own connection to the past and those shoulders who you stand on to help you achieve the success that you've had, the guidance that they gave you, the strength of your shared experience as a family and as a company, the purposes you serve and your family business serves, and the values you maintain and pass on to future generations. So thank you. So this is the start of a great 2 days. So next up, I'm going to turn it over to Ed Hart.